Yes, you read the title of this video correctly. Do not sync. I am actually, believe it or not, creating an entire series of 10 videos to honestly and earnestly try to talk you out of getting into TV film sync licensing. That might seem like a really strange and curious idea from the guy who has a YouTube channel named Sync My Music, and my entire business has been nothing but educating and encouraging as many music producers to jump into sync licensing. So why would I now be flipping and trying to talk you out of it? Well, let me first explain why I think it's worth your time to watch these videos and why it's going to do you a favor one way or another, whether or not you feel that these are going to be motivating for you or they're so demotivating that you decide you want to quit, which is actually my goal. It sounds crazy. I know it sounds like, why would I want to do that? If I can get a few of you to throw in the towel and find something more productive to do with your time and with your music, this was a good use of time for me. What has happened since I started my YouTube channel back in 2016 is that sync licensing has become way more popular now. I was definitely one of the main reasons why it got more popular. My videos got shared a lot. I don't have some massive, huge YouTube channel, but I definitely have one of the larger followings in this space in terms of getting educated about sync licensing. So I'm one of the main reasons why many more producers have been learning about sync licensing and starting to throw their hat in the ring and give it a shot. But then COVID happened. And what happened during COVID is you had thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of producers and musicians and bands sitting around twiddling their thumbs with nothing to do, no gigs, no studios to go to, nothing. And so as they're online, they discover something called sync licensing, which was still fully operational. Yes, a lot of the productions had shut down, but libraries were still in business. They were still accepting music, and you could still gather and start producing high quality licensable music to pitch to libraries in the meantime, which is what I was coaching you guys to do during that shutdown period, so that when everything resumed, you could certainly have a career started for yourself, okay? Now, since then, I've been noticing new course after new course, new YouTube channel, new podcasts, new blogs. Everybody's coming out of the woodworks now talking about sync licensing. And I think some of them are being honest and telling you guys how hard this business can be. But I've definitely seen quite a few of them who are not being that forthright and are not really spelling out all the real, hardships of this business. They're only focusing on the obvious upsides, which you guys know, exposure, income, all that good stuff, being able to do music full time from your home, having that freedom to work from home, passive income. You guys know all the upsides to sync licensing, but I'm not seeing enough people talk about the downsides of it. And so as a result of that, and a result of just more people online talking about sync licensing, I think we're kind of in a bubble right now. I think we have way too many producers and musicians and bands and artists that are just throwing music into the machine and hoping something's going to work out, but they're not really fully aware of what they're getting involved with and how hard and how tricky this business can really be. So as you go through these 10 videos, one of two things are going to happen. You're either going to hear one of these videos and go, that is crappy. I don't want anything to do with that. That sounds like the odds are way too stacked against me for succeeding. I got to get out of here. If so, I've succeeded because I've hopefully freed you up and gotten you away from something that was probably going to just be a time suck and a money suck and a drain on your energy. And now you're free to go pursue something more appropriate for your skills, for your music, for whatever it is you want to get out of life and out of your music career, right? Or you get through these 10 videos one at a time, you get through this abuse that I'm going to put you through, and it doubles you down in terms of it helps you recommit to really sticking with sync licensing. And the only way that I think after these 10 videos you're going to want to do that is you're hungry enough for it, maybe you're desperate enough for it. That was me when I got started. Or you're just crazy, which was probably me as well. So you got to be one of those three probably to get through this and still want to continue on to sync licensing. So one way or another, I feel like I'm doing anybody a service who watches these videos, okay? So that's my pitch as to why these are being made. Let's jump into the first reason. It takes too damn long to succeed with sync licensing. If you've watched my channel or you've been a subscriber or followed me for any period of time, this isn't news to you. And maybe some of these videos you see coming up here in the future on my channel are not going to be news to you. But for some of you, you are not aware of what you're looking at in terms of how long it takes to actually succeed. And what I mean by success, I mean getting accepted by libraries, getting placed on TV, getting royalties, and eventually, hopefully, full-time income, right? For a lot of you guys watching this video, that is the ultimate place you want to land up, okay? When you first get started with sync licensing, let's say you're just joining today, you're just starting and learning how to create music, and you want to start researching libraries and all that good stuff. It can take, and this is like for probably a really fast development, 3 months, maybe 6 months to get your first library acceptance deal, meaning that you can take a couple of months just getting your music ready, right? Getting up to speed with how production music needs to be crafted and serviced and put together so that it's licensable. Then you got to go through a shopping period, right? You got to go find 5 to 10 usually exclusive music libraries that you want to pitch to. And yes, you're going to need to pitch them one at a time because you've done your homework and you want to treat them like human beings to have the highest chance of having high quality relationships with them. You do not want to spam your music out to tons of music libraries and hope something sticks and comes back. I've talked to you guys many times on my channel why that is a losing strategy and I don't recommend it. You do need to have the patience to give each library 1 to 2 weeks to respond to you. So if you've got 5 libraries, you're talking about a couple of months of sitting and waiting for them to come back to you. So we're just talking about getting your foot in the door. And that's for a library composer that I think does fairly well, fairly quickly. I know many of my students, it's not 3 to 6 months, it's a year. It might be 2 years if they need that much time to kind of get their music up to speed. And some producers have been at it longer than 2 years and still don't have a library deal, okay? So let's assume you're on fire, you got high quality music, you're 3 months in, you got your first library deal. Okay, that's just in the library. For the library to take your music, process it, get it registered with the PROs, get it uploaded onto their Source Audio or Disco website or whatever it is they're doing, get it pitched out to their TV and film clients to hopefully start getting you placements, at least a month. I'd say at least a month, probably more like 2 or even 3. Libraries, unfortunately, move at a snail's pace. They often have employees or sometimes even interns handling the registration process, ingesting things, making sure metadata is there. I'm not painting them with a broad brush. Some are quicker, but I've definitely heard tons of stories. I've worked with plenty of libraries that just take their time getting stuff out there. It is a slow moving industry. Nobody's in a rush to get anything done. So let's say that's another 2 months on top of your 3. So you're 5 months into your career here, and you're just now potentially able to get placements with TV and film credits. So congratulations, 5 months in. Now, does that mean that the TV and film clients are just waiting to log in to get your tracks? No, they don't know you're coming. They have no idea your music's out there. So now you have to hope that your tracks are just relevant for them and they just happen to be the right fit for whatever they're looking for. And you have to hope that your library partner you're working with is actively pitching your music and pushing you out there and putting you on some selected playlists for them to check out, right? But at least you're in the game, but now it's still another waiting game because now you have to wait for the right client to come in and discover your album or your tracks as a part of another album or whatever it is to then potentially get placed. So that might be a couple of more months at the best, right? Then you have to wait for the air date. So now it could be another 2 or 3 months before that actual TV show, reality show, commercial, movie, whatever it is that uses your track gets to the air. So we're talking probably closer to about a year already just to finally see that first placement go on TV. And again, this is with everything working in your favor. This is everything working as quickly as it potentially could be, okay? So great. Now you get to wait for your royalties. Okay, how long do royalties take? Well, again, if you've watched this channel for a while, you know royalties are about 9 months to a year from the air date. So you've got to wait a whole another year. That's 2 years from your start date to finally see your first royalty check, which, by the way, is going to be disappointing. I'm going to just be honest with you guys. It's going to be very disappointing. We talk about that a lot as well, but we'll get into the specifics of money in the next or one of the next videos I do in this session. But now you're 2 years in and you finally get your first royalty. If you got a sync fee for that placement, hopefully you did, maybe you didn't. A lot of times you don't for a lot of TV opportunities. That sync fee can take 60 days to finally show up in your bank account. So everything is just taking forever, okay? And this is why one of the most common stories we hear, you can ask most library owners, they'll tell you, they'll confirm the story. The most common story is a sync licensing producer gets into the business, gets excited, gets some music into a catalog, it works really hard for 6 months, maybe even up to a year, and then they don't see the royalties, so they bail. They go do something else. They get distracted by NFTs or something else online, right? They want to now do social media campaigns. I don't know. They're doing something else. Well, 2 years go by, 3 years go by, and suddenly, ching, they get this huge drop of royalties from BMI or ASCAP, a couple $1,000s, something like that. and they come rushing back to the library and they go, oh my gosh, I just got a huge royalty check. I've never made this kind of money with my music. Let me get back into it. And now you're sort of playing catch up because you basically just took a year or 2 years off. Your catalog has gotten a bit stale. You don't have new, modern, relevant music. Anybody that maybe did love your music, they're not finding any new content from you. They might have moved on and found somebody else that they're really interested in. So you're now playing catch up. It's the most common story because of this really, really, really long timeline. Now, if you're trying to get to part-time, maybe full-time income, again, I said it was like 2 years where you finally saw your first royalty check, which was for me 14 cents. Yippee, right? Really exciting. I'm definitely being overly negative on this and overly sarcastic. I think you guys know my usual point of view on this kind of stuff, but again, I'm doing this for effect. 2 to 5 years, though, is the kind of general longer timeline that I've always encouraged you guys to kind of start to, if you're doing things correctly and things are moving smoothly for you, you start to see some significant income that you can start to depend upon, okay? Doesn't mean it's full-time, doesn't mean that it's paying all your bills, doesn't mean you can say goodbye to your boss or do anything like that. But 2 to 5 years, if things are running smoothly, you should start seeing an exponential effect with your royalties. That's at least what I've encouraged you guys to look for. It's what I saw in my career. It took about that 2 to 5 year timeline before my royalties. I started seeing them double and double and double. Not forever. There's definitely going to be a point where they kind of max out and start to equate and start to fluctuate a little bit in one little realm. But as you're getting your catalog built up and working with high quality, reputable libraries, you can start to see that. So I think it's really more like 5 to 10 years before you can really expect anything that looks like full-time income. Now, what is full-time income to you? Depends on where you live. You're in one of the bigger cities, you're probably definitely in that 5 to 10 year range. And it might be closer to the 10 years that you're going to see anything that could potentially replace your current source of income to live in a bigger, expensive city where the cost of living is much higher. You're in the middle of the country, you're in a small rural area, lower cost of living, maybe you can get a little bit more to that 5 year plan, but that's, again, things are working great for you. So there is just a long timeline for this business for you to really, really do well. And so I see countless, probably, I don't know, 96, 97% of you guys that are getting into this business fit into that category that I described before. It's exciting. You're thrilled. You heard about the exposure and the money and the potential to do all this great stuff. You jumped in, and then a year, 2 years into it, all that sparkle is worn off. There's no royalties. There's very little money, if anything's coming in. And it's just like, what am I doing here? I got to go do something else. That's what I felt. That's what everybody I know who's done sync licensing full time has felt. It's just a really, really, really long, drawn out policy and a drawn out timeline. So that's what you get to look forward to in sync licensing. So if that sounds great, continue on to video 2, where we're going to talk about how you're not going to make much money in sync licensing. Hopefully that'll burst a few more bubbles, and if not, get you more realistically prepared for what you're getting involved with this business. So I would also, of course, welcome any comments, any feedback, any points of pushback that you guys have, and what you think in general about this video series that I'm putting together. Please post those below. I'd love to read them.